A top story that we are tracking right now. Mauritius is getting the Chagos Islands back. The UK has agreed to hand over the archipelago to Mauritius, but it will keep the biggest island of Diego Garcia for 99 more years. Why? Because it houses a UK-US joint military base. My colleague Rahisha Sehgal brings all the details on the significance of these islands in the Indian Ocean. Listen in.
Well, the Chagos archipelago comprises more than 60 islands and it lies south of the Maldives in the Indian Ocean. Diego Garcia is the biggest island in the Chagos archipelago with an area nearly 32 square kilometers. Now, the V-shaped coral island had a population of around 924 in the year 1966. And these were mostly contract farm workers on copra plantations. Since the 1970s, Diego Garcia has been used as a joint base by the UK and the US militaries, while the Chagos Islands have been British-owned, UK-owned. Now, the placement of Diego Garcia makes it an important strategic location in the Indian Ocean. Telling you more about this, it lies around 1,900 kilometers to the northeast of the Mauritian coastline and nearly 500 kilometers to the south of the Maldivian archipelago. It is nearly 1,800 kilometers away from the southern tip of mainland India in Kanyakumari. Now, these islands were uninhabited until the late 18th century when the French brought in slave labor from Africa and India to work in the newly established coconut plantations. In 1814, France ceded the islands to the British. They were part of Mauritius under UK rule before UK constituted the British Indian Ocean Territory in 1965 and detached the Chagos Islands in the year 1965. Well, when Mauritius gained independence in 1968, Chagos Islands remained with UK. Well, Mauritius has been asserting its rights for the islands since then, since 1968. In 2019, UNGA adopted a resolution demanding that the United Kingdom unconditionally withdraw its colonial administration from the area, and India voted in favor of Mauritius. India has been a long supporter of Mauritius' claims on the islands, and in 1974, when US began to plan the joint base in Diego Garcia, the then Prime Minister of India, Indira Gandhi, called it a threat to India. Let me quote her. She said, "India faces increasing external dangers because of the activities of some powers who are planning to set up a nuclear base in the Indian Ocean."
Joining us now on the broadcast live from New Delhi is former Captain Alok Bansal. Captain Bansal is the Director of India Foundation and the Executive Director of the South Asian Institute for Strategic Affairs. Thank you for joining us on the show, Captain Bansal. Captain Bansal, you are a strategic affairs analyst. Explain to us the significance of this deal for the various stakeholders involved.
See, firstly, we need to understand that Chagos Archipelago is so centrally located in Indian Ocean that there cannot be any substitute. It lies between Maldives and Mauritius. And consequently, Diego Garcia, which is the largest island in Chagos Archipelago, has been a very, very key component of United States supply base. In fact, in the Indian Ocean region, that's a very, very significant facility for the United States. And ever since Britain granted independence to Mauritius, the people who are living here, Chagosans, have been pushed and they have been shifted to Mauritius, and they have been requesting that their right to return should be given. Firstly, this deal marks the end of British imperialism. It actually marks the last vestiges of British colonialism in this Indian Ocean region. I think with this, there'll be no more British Indian Ocean territory, and I think Mauritius, which rightfully should claim it, will now get it back. And in due course, from India's point of view, since India and Mauritius have very, very good facility, I think we would be in a position to utilize some of these facilities. And as I said, Diego Garcia is probably as central a location in Indian Ocean as is feasible. And so any air base or any base from here can actually give you phenomenal reach in all directions as far as Indian Ocean is concerned, virtually from Africa coast to middle of Indian Ocean or even beyond. Especially the western Indian Ocean will remain completely under its reach, both in the southern hemisphere as well as in the northern hemisphere. So its location is very, very important. And I think once it hands over, I think one of the proposals which you talked of, Mrs. Gandhi, in the olden days, which India used to support as Indian Ocean as a zone of peace, could also come towards fruition, because we have been supportive that no external power should remain in this particular region. And that's been our viewpoint for a very long period of time. And that, I think, would also come to fruition with this sort of a situation.
Captain Bansal, you just spoke about the relationship between Mauritius and India and the fact that no external power should probably come into this region. What do you have to say about the presence of a military base and the fact that the previous UK government had expressed a reservation about Mauritius perhaps allowing entry for China into this territory?
See, the previous UK government had prevented entry of any individual into these islands. In fact, except for the US military, which had which was occupying Diego Garcia, all other islands in the atoll were uninhabited. Even the Chagosans who would come for fishing would regularly be arrested and expelled. So UK government did not want any other power to come. They had given it to the US and they wanted US to continue here. Eventually, I feel India as the largest littoral power should get into some sort of an agreement both with Mauritius and other island nations of Indian Ocean to utilize these facilities, because ideal country, the largest littoral naval power in the Indian Ocean is India, and ideally India should use these facilities in conjunction with the host countries, that is Mauritius in this particular country.
Captain Bansal, also what message does this give out to the international community about the Keir Starmer government?
See, it gives a very, very important message to the international community that the present government is not in favor of pursuing the policy of British imperialism or colonialism, because, as I said, this marks the end of British colonialism as far as Indian Ocean region is concerned, and that's a very, very significant development.
All right, Captain Bansal, thank you so much for joining us with your perspective on this. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.